So, okay, this is my guess about who the worst 5 teams are going to be, and I'm
Wow.
sorry, Bradley, about the Jets.
Wow.
This is my guess about the draft order, and the Giants could easily be in one of these slots. I totally anticipate that. But again, the NFC East is so weak that the Giants could steal some wins, and their schedule is favorable in that they have the Bears in week 4. They have some easier games down the stretch because they've been so bad. Their strength of schedule is not that great. But I actually think that their roster is better than the Falcons. The Falcons are the worst team in the NFL by my estimation, and I am, as I mentioned, not happy about how they've undergone their rebuild. They're taking skill position players in the first round back in back-to-back years, which I mentioned as a Giants fan, I can tell you it's a bad idea. Dave Gettleman took Saquon second overall, and the Giants were in the muck and continue to be for his entire tenure. You have to build lines first, offensive, defensive lines. And the Falcons are neglecting that. Now, I know their offensive line is serviceable right now, but you have to understand where you are as a team. And so I I like AJ Terrell as a corner. A lot of unproven commodities, but I think that defense is pretty bad.
Yeah, Terrell is like a legitimately, in my opinion, a very, very talented player, and I also think Chris Lindstrom on their offensive line is a good. He's a very solid offensive tackle, but I mean, and we'll see what Drake London becomes if he is anything. But truly, like in terms of cornerstones, that's it. If you could
Yeah.
even call him that, like Lindstrom, Terrell, they're good players. It's just truly like it's barren with
And
what they have to work with at this point in this for their season right now. And Kyle Pitts, of course, but we'll see how Pitts develops as well. It's only a
but it's
second year.
hard. The thing is, and you said this earlier, Bradley, like it's more about circumstance even than these individual players. And
No
so
question.
when you have these talented guys like Drake London and Kyle Pitts, can the quarterback get the ball to them? Can they set up a system where those players don't have to carry the entire team on their backs? And you saw what happened with Saquon Barkley in New York. It's the wrong way to build the team because you ruin these skill position players and they get injured really quickly. I mean, you could even say that about Christian McCaffrey. That's another example of that. And so I just really don't have faith in the Falcons rebuilding process. But I could probably interchange the Bears and the Falcons. I haven't really decided yet. The Bears, the only reason I put them as the second worst team, picking second overall, is because of the quarterback. He's the lone bright spot on that team, and maybe Cole Kmet. I like him as tight end, but damn, that team is really in shambles. And I don't even know how much this current regime believes in Justin Fields, and I feel bad for him that he's in this position.
Yeah, it's just tough because Eberflus is a defensive-minded coach to begin with. The receiving core was not particularly elevated even from the draft because they have Byron Pringle they signed from the Chiefs, who good player, but probably the fourth or fifth receiver on the Chiefs depth chart.
I mean, Pringle did not make a name for himself on the Chiefs, and it's
he's I think he's serviceable at best, and I also don't think certainly he's not a number one talent. And they took Velus Jones out of Tennessee. You know, in terms of a lot of draft analysis going into this year's draft, mainly seen as a speed and return guy, and that's a guy they drafted in the second round before a lot of other receivers who definitely had higher grades than him. So from a personnel standpoint, from a team building standpoint, I just struggle to see how they succeed, especially more than people in their division. And also I think they kind of earn their place on this list. And again, I'm a Jets fan, Bears fans.
Yeah. And look, I like Justin Fields.
No
I like him.
Me too.
Yes. I want him to succeed. And I feel for Bears fans for sure, because they're, I mean, the fact Justin Fields just should never have been on that team, given the fact that, like, I believe in his talent, but Nagy was obviously getting fired. And the fact that they gave him another year for him to trade away a first round pick to the Giants to take their quarterback and then to abandon him like this, it's not fair to him. And so, honestly, if this coaching staff does not believe in him, and if Ryan Pace, the general manager, does not believe in him, do him a solid and trade him to another team. Because if they want to rebuild, they should, but like it was borderline malpractice that he went into the season with Darnell Mooney as his only real receiver on that team. And the poor Jets. I'm sorry, Bradley. I'm sorry. Sorry about the Jets, because it's not fair that they're picking this high in the draft, given that they actually have some more talent on this team than their record would indicate. But I talked about their schedule. I mean, I'm going to pull it up right here.
Playing the Bills twice, playing the Dolphins, they might even lose to the Steelers.
It's unfair.
Playing the Ravens, like it's
the schedule makers screwed them.
It's a gauntlet.
Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, who's just in the Super Bowl, the Steelers, who are always strong and play hard, the Dolphins, who are incredibly talented, the Packers in Green Bay, the Broncos in Denver, the Patriots, the Bills, and then they go to their bye. They could be 1-8 going into their bye. And that's not reflective of their team, but they're young and they it's just difficult. And so when you don't get off to a hot start like that, it's really easy for your team to spiral.
And I mean, there's a potential that Zach Wilson is available for opening day Sunday, but there's a chance if anything goes wrong or if there's a setback. I mean, you're also trotting out Joe Flacco, a 36 or 37-year-old Joe Flacco as the backup to lead this young kind of unproven team. And against a good Ravens team, a good, healthy Ravens team, like to start the season. I mean, so it's going to be an uphill battle. If they show any sort of fight, if they keep these games close, I will feel many moral victories, as I always do as a Jets fan.
And so I feel bad for Jets fans, because hopefully the team next year, the team makes that jump and say, you guys get a high draft pick. As long as the owner does not blow the team up and get impatient, hopefully the Jets will have some success. The Seahawks is self-explanatory, right? It's just I don't see the Seahawks having success given their quarterback situation. Pete Carroll's going to coach them hard, but that division is tough, and they're probably going to be in the running for a quarterback at the top of the draft next year. And then the same thing with the Houston Texans. The Jets are the only, and the Bears are the only teams here that I have more faith in their quarterbacks, that they want to actually. Maybe the Bears, I don't know. Maybe they don't believe in Justin Fields, but the Seahawks, the Texans, and the Falcons are all going to be looking for quarterbacks in the draft next year or in free agency. And the Giants too, who I could have made this list, but I just have a little bit more faith in their coaching as opposed to the Texans, for example.
Yeah, like do I believe that Brian Daboll will have more success with the team as it's currently constructed? I mean, the Giants as they're currently constructed, than I do of like Lovie Smith coaching up that offense, or even like Pete Carroll coaching up either Geno Smith or Drew Lock. Like, I'm still, especially given how the Bills played last year, I'm going to put my money on Daboll being able to, just squeeze much more out of them, out of that team than I do these five teams.
Because I like how the offense has looked. In preseason, they put their more putting running backs out in space. I like
what a concept.
Yeah, lots of, as opposed to just stacking the box and ramming Saquon through on the worst offensive line in the league.
Putting through six players.
Anyway, so those are my 5 worst teams, I think, that we'll be picking at the top of the NFL draft. We will see. Time will tell.